Okay, welcome to the webinar on the first symbIoTe's open call. We have a lot of people joining, and so we've opted not to add any video. For this reason, we would like to introduce first the team who will be speaking, so you can put a bit of faces to the people who will be informing you about this open call. We have, I am Julia Wells from Atos. We also have Sergio Soros, who's the project coordinator, Ivana Pogar, who's the technical manager, and Maria Bianco, who is in charge of the open calls in symbIoTe's. So I would also like to outline the agenda that I just will explain now in the beginning, a bit of logistics of how we're going to run this call. Sergio will provide an overview and a summary of the main points of interest for the open call. Ivana will go into further detail in the technical approach, and then we will stop for a moment for a question and answer on the more technical aspects. Then we will talk about the management issues and have a last opportunity at the end for further question and answer on the management or on other technical issues. We were originally planning for about an hour webinar, but there might be a bit of overrun in order to answer more questions. It will depend a bit on you. So, as we said, this webinar is being recorded. We will make it available through our web and the SlideShare and on YouTube. And since we do have a lot of people on the call, we are going to ask you to use the chat, the instant messaging, for your questions. You can put them in the chat at any time as we're going through, and when we stop for the question period, then we will take the questions. Okay, and we ask you to please mute your phone. I'm sorry, I will mute my microphone in just a moment, and I will pass over now to Sergio. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julia, and welcome everybody to our webinar. So I'm going to briefly present you the project, the motivation and the scope, and then introduce you to the scope of the open call. So why we have symbIoTe's and why we proposed it and why we have it as a project. The reason is that we all know, and you probably know better than us, that there are quite many IoT platforms out there which offer some expert vertical solutions, but we all know that these solutions are somehow closed. So apart from the users that they are supposed to use it, no data, no readings, no measurements are going out of the platforms. And also these solutions, most of them, if not all, they are focusing on one domain. But if we consider the life and in the everyday life of consumers and users, it is multidimensional. So in order to address their needs, we see that there are many partnerships among different companies trying to deal and to address more issues than what they can address on their own. So we see that partnerships is a way to go forward, but there is no way to, let's say, to enforce these partnerships, in the sense that each time you have to sit side by side and discuss how you can integrate your platforms and work together. The other reason is that we all know that in some cases there might be a collocation of platforms which are independent, but they are sharing the same, let's say, they are deployed in the same space, physical space. So this might incur some additional costs and complex installations for the end users of those platforms. So this is another issue that we have seen. And actually this also might apply to some of you, that the entry barrier in the IoT market is quite big, because you have to be able to maintain an end-to-end solution, from the sensors and the physical devices up to the cloud platform and the logic and the analytics and everything. And at some point you face a multitude of standards that you have to support. Perhaps some partners ask you for additional protocols and so on, so you have to maintain and continuously update your platform. And finally, for the end users, as we said, they end up using different apps for different platforms, and then they have to switch apps every time they go to a new, let's say, smart environment. And this is something that we want to not completely avoid, but at least to efficiently address. So what we do is symbIoTe. So symbIoTe is actually a framework for interoperability and mediation, and it aims to allow the collaboration between different platforms in order to be able to offer by third parties to offer cross-domain applications. And in this diagram, you'll see that symbIoTe sits in the middle between three platforms and allows the platforms to collaborate. And in the project, we consider 5 use cases: smart residence, EduCampus, smart stadium, smart mobility and ecological routing, and smart yachting. So it's mainly home and office automation with smart residence and smart buildings, including campuses and universities, stadiums and marinas. And also we consider smart cities with the smart mobility and ecological routing use case. So what is symbIoTe in a nutshell? symbIoTe is not another IoT platform, so we don't claim that we build a super duper platform. What we try to do is to facilitate the platforms to open and expose some of their resources to third-party applications. For some reason, we'll talk later why this can be an opportunity for you. And by exposing and sharing the resources through trusted discovery and secure access, we allow, let's say, somehow the platforms to federate and to collaborate for a common goal. What we also aim to support is the flexible integration of devices into smart spaces. And what we don't want to do is actually interfere with the actual data exchange. So we try to bring platforms and application developers together, but symbIoTe won't be the man in the middle from the data exchange point of view. So we'll ease the negotiations, but then it's up to the platforms and applications to exchange the data. So this is not that we gather all the data. And what we try to address here is the need, first of all, of developers for rapid cross-platform and cross-domain application development, and for the developers who may not have the appropriate end-to-end infrastructure laid out, but they could use or rent some of your resources to make their applications possible. The second target is the small IoT platform providers who seek collaboration and cooperation and partnership with other providers in order to address bigger problems or to make themselves more competitive and increase their customer base. And finally, for SMEs, as I said, to overcome the market barriers. So what means that let's try to understand a bit what it means for a platform to become symbIoTe compatible under the scope of this first open call. So here we have a sketch of a platform. We categorize, let's say we define 3 layers: the cloud domain, where typically the back end of the platform relies, the smart space domain, and the smart device domain, which host the gateway and the sensors actuators respectively. So what is the case is that IoT platforms usually, communicate with the backend and then take some information, visualize it, and allow for the end user to make some decisions and actuations. What we introduce here is let's say a new service called which we call core services, which allows platforms through an interworking API that we define and can be adapted to various platforms to we allow platforms to advertise and expose the resources. So in this step with the blue arrow, you see the platform through the interworking API advertising some resources. And then the next step is that IT platforms through the core API can find and discover available resources, and in step 2 they can directly use those resources, again through the interworking API. So from the platform, from the applications side, there's one interface to get the resources. And if we put in the picture a secondary IT platform, then the same happens. So two platforms can, or more platforms can advertise the resources, and then applications can discover them on the first step and then access the resources on the second step. So this is our approach. And let me give you a short example of what we mean by resources. So imagine that you are a platform, that you have some temperature sensor X. So what depending on what you decide to open, you may open directly the sensor X, perhaps annotating it with some location information, let's say the coordinates, and you can offer it to the symbIoT core. You can advertise this resource, this raw, let's say, sensor, to the symbIoT core. Another option is if for some reason you don't want to expose direct access to the sensor, but you see that it's more meaningful to offer, let's say, a sensing service, so you could imagine that you have laid out some temperature sensor in a room or in a building, either indoor or outdoor sensor. So you can offer a service, let's say a room A temperature service, that you offer to the symbIoT core by aggregating and processing the measurements from, let's say, 5 different sensors, but you offer it as a single resource to the symbIoT core. So for us, it's, I mean, we are open. It's up to the platform to decide what they want to open and how to open it. And the important thing is to appropriately advertise it to the symbIoT core. And this is something that the platform owners need to think how to monetize the value of the resources. So the resources are there and you use it for your own purposes, but perhaps by opening them to other parties, you may introduce some new revenue streams to your companies. And the key point is to see how third parties can use these offered resources. So what we are looking for in this first open call, we are looking for IT solution providers, mainly SME startups, but also larger companies, research institutes, and so on, with deployed IT platforms. And we have, due to the use cases we are also considering, we have been focusing on the smart home, smart meeting, and smart cities use cases. So we don't exclude others, as if you are able to present in your application a complementarity of your use case with these two identified use cases, it would be great. So we are open. We just identified that these two use cases might make more sense for us, but we are open to all suggestions. And in order to apply, you need to ask yourself 3 questions. What resources can you open to third parties? Because some of the resources may provide some sensitive and private data which you cannot anyway open. But you need to think which resources you can open so as for third parties to use them. So this is the second question, how third parties can use your resources. And the final question is, okay, you expose some resources and you have thought how these resources can be used by other parties, but then what will be the value for them so as to think about using your resources and for you to get some new revenue streams. So these are the questions that more or less, if you answer, that you can cover quite a big part of the application for our open call. And what you will have to do once you get accepted and you join our consortium, first of all, you need to decide, as we said, which resources to open, and then work with us on the information model, how to describe those resources, and Ivana next will go into a bit into more details on this. And then you will take our interworking API that I saw in the diagram before, and you will extend some specific platform-specific components to be able to integrate it with your platform. So we'll provide a number of generic components that will be already there for you to use, but some of those components that are platform-specific, you'll have to extend so as to connect them with your own platform. The purpose is that at the end, we'll have a proof of concept showcase with all available platforms, the ones that you bring and the others that we also bring through our consortium members. And all of them advertise the resources, and we make them discoverable through the core services. So this is more or less what we expect to do from you in collaboration with us, for sure. So we'll be working together. Oops, sorry. And what are the objectives for this, let's say, exercise? Because it's also an exercise for us. For us, it will be a good thing because we will try to enrich our portfolio of symbIoT-enabled platforms. So to see what other platforms apart from the ones we already have in the consortium can use symbIoT, and check what needs to be aligned with them as well. To receive from you feedback on our solution, because eventually this solution will need to be open for everyone, and to build the foundations for the second open call, which is next year. So this first open call is also an exercise for us. And for you, the good thing is that we believe that it will be to investigate what type of resources you can open and what value you can get out of it, and also start thinking about a way to ease the partnerships that you may have already identified with other platforms. So this all from my side, and then we now go on to the next section of the presentation by Ivana.
Thank you, Sergius, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I will provide a little bit more details on the technical aspects of this first open call and our vision of this level 1 compliance. I will try to explain what that is. So level 1 compliance is something that is a symbIoT invented term. That's just a simple way for us to communicate because we have many interoperability aspects within the project. So this one, we call it level 1 as a lightweight symbIoT interoperability, where we focus on symbIoT being an intermediary between IoT platforms and cross-domain applications. So our major goal here is that we facilitate cross-platform application development, and to do so, we need to tackle two important issues with respect to interoperability. So one is called syntactic interoperability, or enabling it at the protocol level. And the second aspect relates to semantic interoperability, which is a tough question in the interoperability world, which relates to the data level. These two interoperability aspects are a major target within this level 1 compliance, where we want to create cooperative IoT platforms. So the platforms decide, okay, these are the devices or resources which I want to expose to the outside world, and but you have to be in charge actually of this process. So our vision is that the platforms are the ones who remain in the control. They also remain in the control of providing access rights to those applications that want to use their resources. So you should bear this in mind, that symbIoT here will never be storing your data, sensor data within the core services. It will only store the metadata. And then the second important question for us is also that we enable devices to understand each other. So this is related to the semantics. because applications need to understand what type of sensors you're offering so that they can use them. So they need to understand at least something about your sensors and something about your actuators, and this is the semantic interoperability that we are tackling in this project. So let me present another example. This is an example that we have on actuation. What should we be able to do with symbIoTe when your platforms are symbIoTe enabled and level 1 compliant? Imagine the following. You want to use your mobile phone as a remote control for lighting up lights at your home, in the office, remotely, or checking the lights at home in the office, and maybe also in some public spaces. Who knows? We might be able to dim the lights in our street where we live, if we are allowed to do so, of course. Today you would need 3 apps for such a remote control, one for each environment, one for each platform which is managing your home, your office, or the street lights. And with symbIoTe level 1 compliant, a third-party developer could create a mobile application that can enable a user to light up the lights within the environment it chooses to, where the user is, in fact, given permission to do so. So this is the motivation to do it. I hope now this becomes clear. So how do we do it in symbIoTe? So let me go once again to the symbIoTe-enabled ecosystem, which Sergius has already introduced. So we do have this cross-domain approach within symbIoTe, which goes from devices, gateways, to the platform backend, and then to these symbIoTe core services, which are essential for symbIoTe actually to work. And then we have also a concept of enablers and more complex services. But within the first call, we focus really only on the following: only on the symbIoTe core services and only on the platforms which have the backend services that can be integrated to implement our interworking interface, so that they can be exposed to those cross-platform applications that would like to use your resources for creating innovative, novel, cross-domain and cross-platform applications. So this is our main goal within the first open call. So the following open calls are going to deal with the rest of this protocol stack, of course. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the interaction. So what happens and how do these platforms and application interoperate? So the idea is that we have 2 platforms or N platforms which expose the interworking interface, which is defined by symbIoTe. And for this interface, the platforms choose the devices or resources which they want to register. They register them within symbIoTe. symbIoTe takes just the description of your devices, just the metadata, and stores it in there to advertise your resources to the platform, to the applications. And then the application use core services to discover and find the right sensors, the right actuators for their applications. And in the first step, they directly access, you see, the access to sensor data, the access to actuation primitives is directly between the application and the platform. So this interworking interface, so it's all on the platform side. It's all under your control. So a little bit about this description of the devices, which is a difficult question actually. So our approach is the following, that symbIoTe uses within the core services the so-called core information model to describe the sensors and actuators and services. And you will need to provide a kind of alignment of your platform-specific information model, which you are using within your platform, to this core information model, so that we can make some use of it and that we can search through your description. So it needs to be uniform in a way. I will talk a little bit about it also later on. So this will be a need, a must, that the platform-specific information model complies to the core information model, and that it provides sufficient information about the core concepts which SymBiota needs to do the search. We also have we provide also a bit of a more flexibility for you if you want. If you need to expose more information than what we intend within this core, it's also possible from your side. So you can provide more specific information about your platform's model, information model, also if you choose to do so, if this is not sufficient for your needs. And then, so a little bit about also this interworking interface, which we have started implementing, and for this, it's a RESTful API which is based on OData. And recently we are also discussing whether NGSI version 2, which is used within Fiverr, would be actually a good option on for the interworking interface, because it also supports continuous queries. Yeah. So, and here you can see the diagram with the main components that we have started implementing, just to give you a flavor of what we are doing. So for the core services, we are building the administration component and the registry service, then a search engine. Then we have components also for monitoring, that we monitor also, that we receive some monitoring information from the platform side, so that we know which devices are available, what's their performance, and also that we track the popularity of certain devices, so as to be better in terms of proposing the results, search results to the applications. And then also we have this core authentication and authorization management component, which is intended to be a certification authority within the core services, to be involved in the process of helping actually platforms to define the right attributes and provide tokens to the applications, because applications are later on actually interacting to the platform side, and they need to provide the right tokens to be allowed to access the devices on the platform side. And here on the platform side, this is something that is maybe more interesting for you, because these are the components that you would need to integrate within your environment. So your platform is here, but you need additional components to be integrated on your side to implement this interworking interface, of course. And here we're also providing the blueprint implementation in Java that you could integrate with your platform. So we have a registration handler that registers resources within the core services. We have the monitoring component and this resource access proxy, which is a proxy actually for application when contacting the platforms. And this is the platform AAM module. So this was just to give you a flavor of what we are building. And now a little bit about the technologies we are using within SymBiota for the implementation. Just to make it clear, SymBiota is an open source project, so we are already on GitHub. Our development branch is currently quite active because we are preparing for the first release. Within the core services, we are using the following technologies. So all our components are actually developed as microservices. using Spring and Spring Boot. We're using Eureka and Zipkin. Also, we are using the MongoDB on this side, and Jenna as an RDF store. So here on the platform side, we're also using microservices and MongoDB. And what is maybe important for you to know is that the communication between your side and the core services is purely REST-based, and that it's sufficient for you to use JSON. You can use JSON, simple JSON, if you are happy with our core information model, if this is sufficient for your needs. But if you would like to provide more information about your information model, your specific information model, and you would like to advertise it through symbIoTe, then you can use also JSON LD to provide us a little bit more information about your resources. And now, with respect to the licenses, we are using the following license, LGPL version 3 for the core services. But on the platform side, we chose the BSD free clause, which is a bit more business friendly. So we do not expect that any of the plugins for your platform, which is closed, if your platform is a closed platform, you don't need to expose the plugin for your platform. But what we would like you to share with us, if you find or if you extend some of the components that we are building here, then we would like you to share this as open source with us. Okay. So let's go to the questions. How do we create a level 1 platform? So what do you need to do? You need to analyze our core information model and the symbIoTe components on the platform side, which I've listed. You need to align your platform-specific information model with our core information model, and then also integrate the interworking interface and the 4 symbIoTe components. If you're using Java, then this should be quite simple. And you need to build the plugins for your platforms. And of course, we expect you to provide us feedback and comments on the process, and provide us insights on how to improve and simplify the process of creating L1 platforms. And what will we offer? We will offer documented design and prototype implementation of the core services, also documented interworking interface and Java implementation of those 4 components in the platform side. We will provide an example procedure for aligning an existing information model with the symbIoTe core information model, and also an example will be provided using the open source OpenIoT platform. And for more information, you can use the material which we have on the website. Also, our technical blog entries are starting up and coming out. We have more technical details on the open call with the document, and also in terms of symbIoTe deliverables, the ones which I've listed here are relevant to level 1 compliance. So these 3 deliverables, if you want to go into further details. And as I said, our code is already in GitHub, and I'm expecting that the release 1 will be out actually next week. And we are preparing and planning release 2 for end of April. So when you join the consortium, then you will be working with the new release 2 that should be available for you in May 2017. So that's it from my side, and now we can go to questions.
Okay, you see in the chat there is the one question here from Milenko Tosik.
Yeah, I could take that question. So I think Milenko asks about what we expect in terms of deployment and number of sensors and number of and distribution of the platform. So it's something actually that we are also wondering. So the thing is that, okay, for sure we cannot ask you to have some large-scale deployments, and I understand that if, especially if you are an SME or a startup, you may have some clients but not that big. So the important thing is to have something deployed, I mean your solution deployed, and some sensors that could be advertised through our middleware. We don't have any specific demand, let's say, or requirements for the actual deployment, whether it's deployed in a few places with, let's say, a small number of users and an order of, let's say, 10 sensors or actuators or more. So we haven't thought about actual numbers, and we don't want to restrict it to, you know, to actual numbers. What is important is to, in the application, to describe your solution, to mention a few clients that you have or a few deployments and describe them in short. But the criteria is not actually the number of deployed sensors or deployed installations. So we just want to see that there are even a few actual deployments that and the reading and the sensing, let's say, measurement that you take are for actual deployments. That's the purpose, I think. I see there is a second question about non-European platform providers. I think this will go into the next session where we talk about management. So I think it will be answered there, but then we can come back to this question. So there's one new. So I think the next question is for Ivana regarding the working API and the.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question is whether it's possible to implement the platform side using Python or any other language. That is completely fine with us, as long as you are in line with the interworking interface.
Okay, and I think.
This one is for, it will be answered for F6S. This is the question that we will answer after the next presentation by Maria.
Regarding the technical documentation that Jürgen Levent asks, actually this week we will publish, or early next week most probably, we'll make the first release, official, let's say, release of our middleware on GitHub, and this will be accompanied by the proper documentation and also a YouTube video on how to with a tutorial, let's say, or how to make your platform symbIoT compliant and how to use the middleware actually. This will be available next week, and but just as a comment, since there was a question, we don't expect you to know everything in order to apply. So the application mainly focuses on your platform and what you can offer. For sure, you will have there your technical description of your solution, and we will try to next week we'll also open our documentation of the current release. But by the time once you are accepted and you join our consortium, there will be at least one more release with updated documentation and so on. So if you want to take a look, please wait until next week, and we will notify you about about the available material for the technical specification.
Sergius, if only I can add. So the first version of the core information model was already documented in this deliverable 2.1. So next week we will publish deliverable 2.2. But if you know the OData standard, then you can have the feeling how the resource access proxy should look like. Or NGSI, I mean, yeah, we're still wondering.
Okay, the next question before I guess switching to the next session is about industrial implementation. So, as I said, the main domains that we would like to see some applications on are residential and smart cities, but we don't exclude industrial. The thing is that for the partners that offer some industrial solutions, they will have to think a bit more carefully, I would say, what resources they can open, because industrial data might be very sensitive and private, and perhaps you don't want to offer to advertise the status of your machines in the outside world. What you can take is think what type of data could be used from others. So if, for example, you measure the weather conditions or the humidity in the outside area of a factory, let's say, then yes, this can be also useful for other platforms. But data coming from inside the factory, if they are not generic, so also room temperature or let's say lighting conditions can also be useful for collocated platforms as well, so this is also feasible. But we have thought that there might be some issues, so you need to carefully think about industrial deployments. We don't exclude them, but it needs to be carefully thought about.
Maybe just that we take this another question with respect to interoperability at the device level. So currently in this call we are not dealing with the device level at all. So this will be dealt with within the next open call that will be open end of the year. Currently we are only focusing on the platform level, backend platform.
Okay, and a question about what you should expect from other IT platforms exposing their resources through symbIoTe. At this point, we would like to see your view on what you can expose. So this first open call focuses on this aspect. So just to make platforms symbIoTe compatible. The next step, which is the second open call in 1 year from now, will be that, okay, we have a number of platforms that some of them made available and may continue making available their resources. And then you need to think of how either your platform or an application on top could make use of those available resources. But the first step is to gather multiple resources from various platforms, and then the next step, the second step would be to consider how they can be useful. So in the application, there is one such question. You could more or less reply to it in theory. So what would you think that your platform could offer to other applications so that they can make some use of it?
With respect to this next question with the visual IoT applications, so I mean, it can help you maybe define the services, but I do not see so you need to be able to provide backend services on the platform side. So I don't know whether the visual IoT IDE can in fact provide you such a thing. So if you use it to build your services, that's okay for us, as long as you provide a REST-based interface to symbIoTe, which is compatible with our interface, interworking interface.
Okay, so in order to save some time, as we said, we'll collect all this information offline and then perhaps compile a web page with all the questions and answers as well. So let's move on to the next session with Maria, and we'll keep recording your questions and try to answer them also offline.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar. With this presentation, we will go through the administrative aspects and the eligibility criteria of the open call. And we will focus also on some details of the application form as well. So please write your question in the chat. And first of all the information for properly prepare your application are all available on the symbIoTe website. In the open call page, you can find a summary related to funding information and targeted applicants, while in the page called call material, you can find all the necessary documentation for preparing a fund proposal, both under administrative point of view and technical point of view. The application form is available on the platform F6S, which is a specific platform where investors and accelerators can discover innovative companies and startups. On the symbIoTe website, we provide direct access to the open call application form, which is in any case reachable through the link reported here on the slide. Which are the main constraints of our open call? First of all, eligible applicants. Eligible applicants in this first call are single startups, companies and research organizations already legally established in a European member state or in an associated country. For this call, we do not accept applications from consortia. This is also to reply to the question before, so check the eligibility criteria on our website and make sure that you apply with a company established in a European member state or associated. Concerning the funding condition, this open call made available a total budget of 120,000 euros, and the maximum grant that can be requested by each applicant is up to 40,000 euros. Eligible costs are considered personal costs and travel costs. As you know, the deadline for submitting the applications is on 28th of February at 70 o'clock Brussels time. The procedure for subscribing in F6S platform is completely detailed in our guide for applicants, but in this presentation we want to underline some aspects that require special attention from your side. Very important when you subscribe in F6S to accurately describe yourself, your expertise and experiences, and your main achievements. In parallel, we require you to create your team by including 2 or 3 collaborators who have key expertise for carrying out the extension you are proposing. So invite your collaborators and employees involved in the implementation and ask them to complete their profile as well. This is very important also to evaluate the overall competencies of the applicant. Now we will go through the application form. The application form consists of 6 sections. The autosave functionality on F6S will prevent any loss of content, and you can modify your application anytime till the deadline. Make sure that to press the Submit tab just once the application is complete. The applications field have also a limited number of characters, so be concise, precise, and include in the application all the important information you want to expose. Briefly, we go through the application sections. First of all, basic info includes the title and the summary of your proposal. IoT solution is a section in which will describe the technical solution you are proposing. In this section, you can also upload an additional document, up to pages, in which you can include diagrams, figures, and general deeper details about your proposal. Innovation and impact, you can describe which resources you will make available for the development of further applications and which benefits you expect from symbIoTe. Implementation is a section about the timing and the estimation of cost. We will go in deeper detail on this section afterwards. Data management is about the way you deal with sensitive and personal data, if it applies to your platform. Miscellaneous is a section in which we require you some additional information, and it includes the privacy statement. Going back to the section D, implementation, it's very important to include correct information because some mandatory limits apply in this item. Duration of the implementation. You choose how long it will take the implementation, but the maximum duration allowed is up to 6 months. The list of deliverables consists in a template available on our website for download. Once the document is completed with the list of deliverables you plan to prepare, you can upload it. And let's say deliverables are any tangible output of the implementation, which means reports, software, or a combination of reports and software, which represent and describe the result of your work. We have to clarify and underline that there are 2 additional deliverables which are mandatory for proceeding to the payment of grants: the intermediate and the final report. These 2 reports represent the main document for checking the proper implementation of the work. Therefore, the coordinator can transfer grants just under the condition that these deliverables have been prepared and submitted by. Make sure to include these intermediate and final reports in the list of deliverables to be uploaded. Another important information concerns the estimation of cost. Here we ask you to estimate the cost of personnel you want to deploy and to estimate also a small budget for traveling. We actually will ask funded companies to participate either in a project meeting with the whole symbIoTe consortium or in a workshop that symbIoTe may organize in the future. It also make sure to include this cost and that the total amount of the both does not exceed the maximum eligible funding, which is 40,000 euros. This information can found in the guide for applicants and also in the symbIoTe standard extension contracts, which are available on the website. So make sure to have a look into all the documentation available. An important issue for you to consider is about the principles that rule the intellectual property rights. In the symbIoTe standard extension contract, we describe our policy about the ownership of results, joint results, and the access right of third parties to existing background of symbiotic partners if it's needed for the implementation of the extension. Our regulation, our policy is very light in the sense that we are deploying an open source solution, so we kept the rules very light and easy to manage. What happened after the deadline? We are selecting a panel of independent experts which are external to the symbiotic consortium in order to ensure a transparent and fair evaluation. This panel will evaluate your proposal according to the criteria which are also published on our website. The winning proposal will be notified by the coordinator at the beginning of April and will be invited in signing the symbiotic standard contract. The symbiotic consortium will follow the third party joining the project and will follow the implementation of the extension through a supporting team which is composed by a technical champion and a business champion. The supporting team will organize an initial briefing with granted companies for better focus on the work to be done, and in any occasion third parties may need on request, of course, some technical or business advice. Hope this presentation gave you some deeper hint about the application form, and we wish you good luck. And thank you very much. I don't know if I think I answered the question before. Let me check.
Okay, also, Maria, as we said, if you could, we have grouped some of the management questions. If you could take the question, read it out, and then we proceed to answer it this way as well. It will be easier to follow in the recording for people who haven't been able to join.
Check.
Okay, so I can help.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, so the first, one of the questions was whether indirect costs apply to personnel costs. So that was the first, one of the first questions.
Are indirect costs usually, you mean apply to personnel costs?
Okay, so the question means, so what we see is that what you write, what the applicants write in the form is the total cost, including overhead. So we are talking about the final numbers here. So 40K is the final number. So we don't actually, the reporting won't be so detailed as we do it in the commission. So we'll give you the money, and which should include also the overhead. So it's a total personal cost, direct and indirect, and also for the travels. I think for the travels it doesn't apply, but anyway. So another question was
how the payment is expected to be done. Yeah, we plan to transfer an advance payment, about 40% of the total grant at the beginning of the extension. That means when the contract has been signed by both parties, coordinator and third party. Another percentage of 30% will be transferred after the midterm report, the intermediate report, has been submitted to the coordinator, and the last 30% at the end of the extension, when the final report has been checked and submitted and checked by the coordinator. Okay, now, Maria, a startup, a very small company, they are not employees, or the client should be budgeted. Yes, in this case, when the small company doesn't have any employee but just the founder, in the case of the cascade funding, it is sufficient for the company to prepare an invoice, and it doesn't follow the general rule of accounting of a European project, and in any case we will solve. We will give you a better answer afterwards when we check with more in detail. In any case, it's possible to pay also the work of the founder of the SMEs.
Just to help here, as I said at the beginning, this is the overall cost. So we will hand it to you. So whether companies outside the company are budgeted, it's in each companies, willingness to do so. We won't, let's say, we won't go into the details in the audit. What we'll hand over to you is the budget for your personnel, for personnel costs. What you do with it is, we cannot check it. We are not a commission, so we are not going to do an audit afterwards. We just will have just at the end of each payment, we will ask you a type of invoice, not that you receive the payment of that amount of euros for, let's say, for the first installation of the payment, and we'll continue so for the other two payments. So it's going to be simpler than that. So what you do with the money, if actual members of the company or if outsiders are paid with that money, as long as you do the work, the job that needs to be done, it's okay for us.
Okay. Well, perhaps also I should jump in as well. I said, in general, that all the processes we're following the H2020 rules, of course, that we follow the payment scheme so that people can get to work. There's an agreement with the coordinator. Of course, we do not have the capacity to audit, but of course, all companies, they have to be in line with EC rules, and in case the EC does any independent audits afterwards. Okay, so there may be concrete cases when there's the SMEs that we could perhaps talk on your concrete example offline. But we say as a general rule, we're following the EC H2020 rules, and if we need some support, we can discuss your particular case offline. To not use up more time in the webinar. Okay, are there further management questions? Let's take a look.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. There's one on the, do we have to compile a specific document for the proposal, or we just follow F6S platform sections?
Yeah, about this, we have two, the main proposal is done by through F6S, so applicant needs to fill in properly all the fields online on F6S, but applicants have also the possibility to include an additional document where to describe in more detail their own technical solution with graphic or figures and so on. Another document which needs to be uploaded is the list of deliverables, which is available on the website, and you can find easily such information because in F6 you have the direct link for downloading this template for deliverables. So it's an added value for you to include the additional technical description as requested in the F6 platform.
Okay, are there further questions? Or perhaps we're coming near to the end of our budgeted time, but of course if there's other questions we can take them.
We have this one. What are the reporting needs regarding the personal cost? It will follow the H20 rule. Let's say from third side, you will not have access to, for example, the documentation of the participant portal. You don't need to prepare reports and statements there. But, of course, you have to properly follow your country bookkeeping rules, because in case of audit, you need to explain to revise how do you spend the money of the prize. So third parties are not subject to the reporting, official reporting of H2020 projects, but they have, of course, be fair and take bookkeeping very, very key about this thing.
Okay, I think we were having a bit of a sound difficulties there with Maria. So as I say that we have to sum up, the third parties have to report to the coordinator. The coordinator has to report these costs or the justification through our reporting, but the third parties do not report through the participant portal official reporting mechanisms that partners would have to do. Okay. Also, I see there was one last question as well from Bessem, and I'm not sure if we know how to answer this one, but it's about educational institutions, if we're open for non-European educational institutions to integration and applications. Unless someone else would like to jump in, I think that we would have to study that in more detail and get back to you personally, and also we would include in the FAQ. So Sergio, sorry about it, would you have any response to that one? Or do we need to investigate further?
Yeah, the only limitation is what Maria also mentioned at the beginning, that we cannot support non-European countries. I mean, institutions or organizations coming outside Europe or their associated countries. So this is the only thing that we are not allowed to do, and the Commission, will check on this item for sure on us when we announce the results of the open call. So this is something that we cannot. It's not in our hands. It's funding from. Actually, it's not our money. It's funding from the Commission, and the Commission wants to distribute it in Europe and the associated countries. So this is the only limitation I see is the non-European part. The educational institutions, if they can show some activities in integration and development and can offer some platform that offer resources to be advertised, then they are for sure welcome to participate in the call.
Yeah, I think, well, one question is in terms of funding that there's the eligibility criteria that we cannot fund, we can fund European organizations. Sort of a wider question perhaps, which I'm not sure, is in terms of non-funded collaboration and imparting the collaboration with the symbIoTe ecosystem, which would be a sort of a different topic to take up. Okay. Yeah, Sylvia. Sophia's asking for a list of associated countries. Yes, and it's indicated here, and I think it's also linked to from the open call documentation on the website.
And one last question that I see that is already in place is what is the strategy for continuing support of the performing implementations after the extension period? So this is quite a good question. So according to the schedule, the extensions of the first open call will end up close to end of September, October, depending on how much time you will need for your extension. So after that, there are two options. First of all, you can apply to the second open call if you want to do something extra, or if you want to. So the second open call is about getting deeper into lower levels of integration, but also looking for cross-domain applications or small-scale trials that could go a step further from the showcase that we will have in the first open call. So this is one option, and open call is open for all. The second open call is still open for all applicants of the first open call. However, this is not mandatory, so you can participate in the second open call even if you haven't participated in the first one. Then the second part is the second option is that within the project we have no other means of supporting these extensions. However, if we see that there can be some mutual benefit with specific partners from the project, then we could investigate such partnerships. Falling outside the scope of the project, but meaningful in real life. So this is something that we want to investigate, and we are more than happy to discuss with you after the end of the extensions, because this is the scope actually of the open calls and the project to try to create partnerships that go beyond even the lifetime of the project itself.
Okay. I think we should close then. We are at 2:15, and if there are further questions, of course, you can contact us through the symbIoTe web or directly to Sergio's. Sergio, would you like to add anything else?
Just one thing that. In our website, so not in F6S, in our website, though in F6S we have links to our website, there is all the material is there, so you can take a closer look on the support material, which more or less provides answers to some of the questions. What we will do afterwards in the next days, if not tomorrow, we'll make the slides available and the video also. But also we have gathered your answers, your questions, and we'll provide. We will group them and provide also written answers. By updating our FAQ section on the website, but also sending an email with any more direct communication that may be needed. So all questions have been recorded, so and noted down actually. So you won't miss your opportunity to get an answer for us. But also use the communication means available from our website, emails, forms, and so on, to ask any further questions you might have during the preparation of the application. That's all from me. I don't know if Ivana wants to add something more.
No, not really. Thanks everyone for participating, and then we are looking forward to your applications.
Okay, and with that, we'll close the webinar. Thank you again for everyone for your participation. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.